Hiya and welcome to another edition of Owlbutcast. Tell them that you're here. Albert's here. But if you're watching this, you could probably see that. You didn't think of that. Well, there we go. Anyway, welcome. And this week we're going to talk about migrants. You've probably heard that word in the news quite a lot recently, so we thought we'd just try and explain a little bit about what it all means. Now, the first thing to say is that migrants are people who are migrating from one country to another for some reason. Yes, indeed, actually, birds migrate. There are some birds who come here in the summer and then migrate south to the warmer weather in the winter. And there are some silly ones who do it the other way around. You don't migrate at all, do you? No, you don't. Anyway, so there are two forms of migration. One is known as immigration, and that is when people come in to a country. And the other one, it begins with I, like in does, as we put up there. And the other one is called emigration, and that's when people emigrate from a country. And that begins with E, as does exit. So hopefully you can then remember which one is which now. Now, as far as emigration goes, as far as the emigrants go, we're not going to talk about them. Because they've gone. Yes, because they've gone. So we're going to talk about immigration and immigrants. Now, the first thing to say is if you want to go and live and work in another country, you can quite simply apply for a visa. You apply while you're in your own country, and if it's granted, you can then go to that other country and you can work there and you can live there. I worked in Australia, I had to have a visa. I worked in New Zealand, I had to have a visa. You apply for the visa. If you want to renew the visa while you're there, you can do that. Now, in some places, for example, if an Australian wants to come here to the United Kingdom on holiday, they don't need a visa if they're only staying for less than 6 months. Other countries, they might need a visa. So every country is slightly different as to what they have to do. Every country is slightly different as to how they require people to apply for visas. So that is the legal way to come in. You come in with your visa, you can extend your visa, and I think in this country, if you've been here for 5 years on various visas, you can then apply to be a citizen. But that isn't true for other people who come into our country. There are some people who come into our country, and they are what are called asylum seekers. Yes, it's up there. Now, an asylum seeker is somebody who's come to the country because they fear for their own safety in their own country. And they are coming and they want to be a refugee. Correct. Right. So, these asylum seekers are not legal immigrants until a process takes place and they go through various stages to see whether they really are asylum seekers. Now, as I say, an asylum seeker is unable to live safely in their own country. The idea being that as soon as they get here, as soon as they arrive in the United Kingdom, they should apply for asylum, if you like. There are thousands of illegal immigrants coming into this country this year. There were, last Saturday, which was the 29th of October 2022, in case you're watching this in 4 years' time, the question is, what on earth have you been doing? But anyway, last Saturday there were 1,000 people who came across the channel in small boats and landed on the south coast of England. So far this year, there have been nearly 40,000, and every one of those 40,000 has to go through a process. And that is what the problem is at the moment. They tended to arrive on the south coast, mainly round Dover, and the plan, the immigration plan, was that they would be taken to a holding post, an area where the first checks would be done, and then they would be sent off to various accommodations around the country. That holding post was at a place called Manston. It was an old RAF station, and it was supposed to take about the maximum of 1,500 people, and they were only supposed to be there for 48 hours, 24 hours if possible, but maximum stay was 48 hours. On Sunday, which you may calculate now is the 30th of October 2022, there were 4,000 people in that holding station at RAF Manston. 4,000 people, and some of them had been there over a month. The conditions there were terrible. There were no beds, there were mats put on the floor, blankets put down on the mats. That's where the people were having to sleep. They had no proper toilets, they had portaloos, and an inspector said it was a very serious and diabolical situation. And if you think about it, supposing you've got your living room and you can fit 30 people into it, well, if 80 people come along, it's not going to work. And that's the sort of ratio of the maximum people they were supposed to have at Manston and the number of people that they actually now have. Now, the reason there's so many people there is, well, there's several reasons. Firstly, too many people are coming. The RAF Manston cannot cope with the numbers that are coming in. Everyone has to be looked at to see whether they really are an asylum seeker. The reason for that is that there are some people coming to this country who are what are called, I haven't said it yet, who are what are called economic migrants. In other words, they've come from a country that is really quite safe, but they think they'd have a better life here. A country, an example at the moment, is Albania. Albania is in Europe. It's not in the European Union as yet. It applied in 2009. It was given what was called candidate status in 2014, which means the EU are looking to see whether they can join. There is no reason, no danger reason why any Albanian should come to this country as an illegal immigrant. If they want to apply back in Albania and get a visa, that's fine, no problem. But some of the people arriving on the shores around Dover are actually from Albania. So we have too many immigrants arriving. The system that is being used doesn't work, obviously, and that is why there are these vast numbers living, or possibly just existing, in absolutely terrible conditions. Once they have been processed, and they do move on, the British government has to find somewhere for them to stay. And at the moment, we are spending about £7 million a day. Yes, I said £7 million a day. You heard me the first time, okay. On hotel accommodation for these illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, whichever they happen to be. So that's the amount of money that the British government spends. Now, who pays for that? Well, it comes out of taxes. So you and I are, well, you're not probably because you're too young. Well, that means I'm paying for it all. You're not paying for it, no. No, taxpayers are paying for that. It's not a sensible solution. Something has to be done. And that's what the problem is at the moment. But I hope that we have explained a little bit about the migrants and the legality of some of them. Obviously, we have a moral duty to provide safety to anybody who is fleeing their country in fear of their life. Whether it be for a conflict because of their race, their religion, their nationality, whatever it is. We have a moral duty for that. But for others who come here illegally, when they could, quite simply, apply for a visa, that is something that is different. I don't know what the solution is. Could I stop destroying your desk? I do apologise. I don't know what the solution is. It's pretty obvious that the government and the civil servants don't really know what the solution is. But at the moment, it is getting out of hand. It's out of control. It's not working. Okay, I hope that's only lasted about 10 minutes. I think we need to get a clock. Yes, on the wall up there. You can't see the wall. Yeah, we could, and then I could watch it. I wouldn't know what I was talking about. Well, I would, because I only have a few notes, don't I? Look, here are my notes for today. This was today's notes. £4 of sugar, 3... No, don't be funny. That is not my shopping list. Right. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next week, and we'll have something else to talk about. Take care. Bye.